Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Expert Commander. I am Christopher O'More.
My name is Nick Gonzo. Hello.
And if you're unfamiliar with the sort of dynamic we have here, if I'm the captain of a ship, Nick is like the carved statue of a naked woman at the bow of the ship.
I always thought I was the drunken sailor in the lifeboat being sloshed with water.
Oh, so you're down in the brig.
Yeah. You're also like, I'm trying to run this place, and I'm like, I'm just trying to make a buck smuggling some rum, you know?
Because there's that song, like, what should we do with a drunken sailor?
Yeah, what's that called?
I think it's just called What Should We Do with a Drunken Sailor? But there's a line in it which is like, put him in the bilge and make him drink it, put him in the bilge and make him drink it. And I was like, that's a song I heard as a kid, and I'm just like, what the hell is a bilge? And do you know what a bilge is?
No, I do not.
The bilge is the bit at the very bottom of the boat where the seawater kind of leaks in and collects.
Yeah.
So basically, the seawater sort of leaks into there. I presume there must be some like balance or like ballast advantage to having seawater in a boat. I don't actually know. But yeah, so you throw this drunken sailor into the bilge, which is like the coldest, darkest, most unpleasant place of the ship, filled with like dirty shit, seawater and moss, and you just make him drink it.
It kind of makes sense. Like from it was like that bit in Casino Royale where he's poisoned. You know, just if you started drinking salt water, you're gonna hock it back up again.
Well, yeah, but like as a cure for drunkenness, like
it's a shitty cure.
Yeah, but shitty but effective.
But the worst thing about that song is the fact that they make him do things early in the morning when he's
exactly
hungover. like I wouldn't do anything early in the morning when I'm hungover.
Well, no. The rhyme isn't "What should we do with our hungover sailor?" Like, so this guy's all drunk early in the morning.
We've all been there where you're still drunk from the night before and have to go to work. You know, like.
I know. I kind of pictured that like he sets his alarm, his seagull alarm. He sets his alarm to get up early entirely so he can start drinking.
I have to get up early in the morning to be this drunk.
This level of drunkenness takes prep work.
Speaking of which, I have a strange German liqueur that my sister brought me back from Berlin a bit back. If you want to drink that at the very end,
I would like that. We should
drink it and judge it. For
yeah,
what it is.
Yeah, I'd like that. We should probably point out this is the first podcast of the first episode of Expert Commander that we've done where we're actually both in the same room. Yeah. Normally I'm sitting at my desk in black-faced UKIP town, and
pronounced Ukipton.
Ukipton. And Nick is sitting at his desk in Leeds, and I really wish you'd opened that before we started this podcast.
It adds texture to it. Like people now understand what this is about.
So generally we're separated by most of the country, but for this for one night only, I'm in Leeds, and so I'm staying at Nick's house, and we're currently sitting in his sort of kitchen dining room area, and we're currently surrounded by all sorts of different spirits and alcoholic beverages, some of which are Nick's home brew.
Yes, yeah, I make my own stuff. I thought you were going to say, like, I thought you were going to comment on the fact that I am an avid collector of things, so you're going to comment on this, like, the fact that my dining room is just filled full of stuff from around the world.
Well, geographically, where I'm sitting, I've actually got my back to most of it.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I can just sit here and observe my kingdom use it.
So, Nick, please tell us a bit more about your burgeoning wine manufacturing industry.
Well, my mum makes jam.
Excellent jam, I have to say.
Yeah, no, she makes a wide variety of jams.
A couple of years ago, I had a cinnamon and apple, I think, preserve, and I was going through a really tough time at that point, and I just started putting it on every kind of savory bread product that I could, and it just made everything taste like Christmas.
I think I probably have some of that same stuff downstairs.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I've got loads. We'll go into the jam cupboard when we're done.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I have a jam cupboard. There's a cupboard downstairs. It's done by year, because the whole point of a preserve is that it preserves, and you just pick out what you want. There's like a date and plum and stuff. It's
sweet.
It's nice. But so Mum was making some. One of Mum's work colleagues brought her some grapes. And she was like, "Oh yeah, we have some vines out back. If you want to go around and pick them, you can have the grapes making jelly." And we thought, like, it's gonna be one.
It'll be a one-time thing.
It'll be a one-time thing. But more to the point, like if you picture, we all have something in her garden that produces fruit, right? Like you have a bilberry bush or something, and it just makes a couple of blackberries or whatever, or bilberries or some form of berry. Yeah, you're laughing because I said bilberry, aren't you?
No, I'm laughing at the letters we might get about how it's a fruit tree producing privilege that you think that.
Yeah, it is the most middle class sentence.
Yeah. Well, obviously everybody has a mulberry bush in their
No, but
garden.
the thing is though that even if if you just let your garden go wild, it will grow stuff. Like, on the surface, it's a real sort of middle class thing to have a fruit producing.
Sure,
bush.
yeah.
But like in my front garden, we had a bird feeder, and the bird feeder spilled some seeds, and a bramble grew, and the bramble now makes blackberries.
Because that's how nature works.
Because that's how nature works. Shit gets grown, motherfucker. So I would recommend getting some. But anyway, anyone can have a fruit providing bush if they want. And if you picture that in your head, you think there's like one. We went to the house, the entire back of their house and most of the garden is covered in tons of grapevines.
Sure, yeah.
So we end up picking like 9 or 10 carry bags full of grapes. And I sat in Mum's hallway for ages, and she's like, I can't make. If I started making jelly out of this, I'd be doing it for years.
Yeah.
You're gonna start making wine now.
Oh, so
she just turns up and just gives me all these, and then I'm then at Wilkinson's buying all the winemaking stuff, and that's when I made the Gonzo Merlot that you tried a couple of years ago.
Yes, the Gonzo Merlot, which was your first batch of wine,
which was I made,
which was incredibly lethal.
It was fucking nuts,
almost undrinkable in some cases.
It was entirely red grapes, and it was a white wine.
Yes, I always thought that was strange as well. I learned a lot about wine that day.
Same, it was entirely red grapes. It was a white wine, and it had a very delicate flavour that was soon replaced by a diesel type flavour. So you're like, you drink it. It's like when you were I don't know. I can't imagine what it's like. It's like biting into a lemon, right?
Yes.
And you're sort of like, oh, it's fine. Then suddenly you're like, no, it's not. Abort. This is terrible.
I would have gone for it was the sugar candy coating around the cyanide capsule.
That's very poetic. What I wanted to go for initially was the taste of your own earwax.
Oh, all right.
Because I remember once, as a very, very young child, I must have been like 5 or 6, I thought it was a good idea to eat some of my own earwax. And you put your face and you're like, that's not too bleh. It's like, it's alright that it's just the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
That's such a moment of innocence, isn't it? So, you're still discovering the world through your mouth, basically. And basically at that point, your mouth, this system has never betrayed you.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes it is, it's earwax or like a Brussels sprout or something very acidic, like a lemon or something.
Yeah.
Where you suddenly realize that actually there is cruelty in the world.
Yeah, you're like, not everything is nice.
I also love the idea that
everything is a kiwi fruit.
Well, yeah. I also love the idea that your first batch of wine was made of jam cast-offs, basically. So it's like second hand.
I used to play bass for the jam cast-offs.
Also, there's just one thing I want to point out at this point. I think it was last time I came to visit you. Actually, you were just in the process of making your first batch of wine.
Yeah.
And so we met up in Leeds. Nick, you live in a village which is like 10 minutes on the train away from Leeds. So we met up in Leeds city centre, and we're going around Wilkinson's buying all this
with funnels,
winemaking stuff. And Nick buys a funnel, okay, and then something happened, which meant that we ended up rather than just getting winemaking stuff and then going home, we ended up staying out for most of the night.
We were really, really hungover.
Yeah, but
right, because we had just got demolished on Thursday night.
Yeah, and
then we were out and about. We went in specifically to have some sort of hangover cure.
Yes,
we went and got steak and chips from the Ox Club at the Headrow House, which was really just opened. And we went and bought the funnel, and then we realised that it was light night, which is a thing that happens yearly.
Yes,
where everything stays open late, and there's loads of events and things going on around the city. And we ended up staying out until about midnight, carrying this fucking funnel around with us.
Yeah, and we went into cinemas and watched trailers for films that were coming out.
It was a launch night as well for the Film Festival.
Yeah. And so we did that. There was all this street theatre. There was all these sort of street foods. And all of it was themed around light. There was a bit where they were projecting a music-based video game onto the side of a building.
Audio surf. You could go and play audio surf and have it project on the side of the Queen's Hotel, which is like a Art Deco hotel in the very centre of town. It was
And there's this wonderful Instagram video, which I didn't realize you were taking, Nick, and you're videoing somebody playing this video game, which is projected like 200 feet square across this enormous side of a building. And in the background, you can hear just me complaining about the one festival that my hometown has, which predominantly features white people wearing blackface.
It was at the Leeds College of Art. They had this music video thing where like part of the building was exploding and like a dragon was coming in. And,
Yes, yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like light was sparking on the edges of the building and stuff. And I'm watching this majesty and here you're going to, and the thing that happens in my town is a strawberry where everyone dresses up in blackface and they say it's not racist, but it's racist.
So you obviously you can't see it. If you look at this post, you can't see it, but in all the photos and in all the stuff that we experienced that night, Nick is just dragging around a funnel with him the entire time. Okay.
Oh, that was when we almost got kicked out of the museum. We almost got kicked out of the museum because we went in and we'd had a bit to drink, and there was I think they call it a thick-legged moa, which is a type of ostrich-type bird with a tiny head.
Teeny head.
Teeny head. And legs like...
Legs for days.
Legs for days. It was like if somebody had created a three-way hybrid of all of Destiny's Child. Like, it was legs.
It was very weird, though, because... Obviously, the gallery in the museum stayed open really late, but it did have kind of a night at the museum sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
In like, I remember just walking around a corner, and there was like a group of 5, 18, 19-year-olds who were just having a picnic.
Yes.
Like, it was all very, very surreal, but it was funnel notwithstanding. It was a wonderful experience. So that's the Leeds Light Festival?
Light Night. Yeah.
Light Night, thank you.
Yeah,
Not to be confused with Diwali, which is also a festival of light. And Hanukkah, which is also a festival of light. So, first thing proper we would like to talk about is following on from last week, actually, where we talked about weird shit I find at the RSPCA.
Weird shit at the RSPCA. What's that you got there? Is it offensive? Yes.
And we found a wonderful book called Way Out Ideas for Youth Groups, published by Totally Not a Cult Publishing.
Which lives with me now.
Yes, which Nick now has. I gifted that to him for his birthday, and I've never seen a look of joy quite so much plastered all over Nick's face. I like to think that you now keep it in like a glass box. So one of the things that we joked about last time was how that book was like a cursed object. Nick, please tell me more about cursed objects.
Right, I want to talk about two things. One thing is a painting I came across, and the other one is an actual genuine cursed object that I own.
Okay, we should probably preface this by talking like what is a cursed object?
Okay, right.
Or what is a cursed image?
I think that the two things we're going to talk about are completely different. One of them is about a painting that people think is haunted. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the other one is just an object that I bought and instantly regretted and don't like looking at very much. Okay, I think that like I'm a great believer in the materiality of objects. You know, like the way that something's built, the way that something exists.
Sure.
It can elicit an emotional reaction. It's easy. You know?
Yeah.
Teddy bears are cute. Porcelain dolls are freaky.
Yeah, and that is influenced by pop culture as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't look at a chainsaw now without thinking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Exactly.
We've somehow segued from chainsaws being perfectly functional
lumberjack
equipment to being murder weapons.
Yeah,
right?
it's the first thing you think of when you look at a chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there is a painting that was painted by California-based artist Bill Stoneham.
Okay.
Called The Hands Resist Him, and it turned up on eBay.
Right. What, the original painting?
The original painting turned up on eBay.
Okay.
And I'm going to read you a few bits from it, from choice cuts from the eBay listing, which I have in front of me. So, when we received this painting, we thought it was really good art. A picker had found it, abandoned behind an old brewery.
Off to a flying start.
Yeah. At the time, we wondered why a seemingly perfect fine painting would be discarded like that. Brackets, today we don't, 3 exclamation marks. One morning, our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the picture were fighting and coming into the room during the night. Now, I don't believe in UFOs or Elvis being alive.
That's just a for context.
Yeah, so I was talking to an antiques dealer the other day, and he was just discussing some of the stuff he bought, and he was just listing a bunch of stuff, and he just very calmly and casually went, "I have a very large collection of Third Reich daggers and cigarette cases." There's like they're hanging them up, and I went, "I'm not a lunatic or anything. I keep them in boxes." But like, and I'm just like, okay, yeah. But anyway,
Please carry on with this eBay listing.
To my amusement, we set up a motion-triggered camera. After 3 nights, there were pictures from a stakeout. After seeing the boy seemingly exiting the painting under threat, we decided the painting has to go.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's
So was there picture evidence of this then?
I haven't seen them.
Right. Okay.
And the article that I found it in, they haven't produced. Though it does say here, warning: only view the next page if you're prepared to see the painting.
Okay.
I think they do that in a bit of comedy. But anyway, warning, says the email listing: do not bid on this painting if you are susceptible to stress-related disease, faint of heart, or unfamiliar with supernatural events. There was no odour left behind in the room. There were no voices or smell of gunpowder, no footprint or strange fluids on the wall. By bidding on this painting, you agree to release the owners of all liability in relation to the sale or any events happening after the sale that might be attributed to this painting.
I love that they say there was no odour, there was no footprint. So basically they're saying the room was basically normal.
Yeah, everything was fine afterwards. But the really weird thing is that there are actually stories associated with this.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's a bunch of interviews with people. They're working on a feature-length film about the painting.
That's just going to be garbage, isn't it?
Well, this magazine is from.
It's going to come out in January.
This magazine's from quite a few years ago and it hasn't appeared yet. So
right. Okay. Fair enough.
But basically, there's quite a few stories relating to it. The actual the guy who did the interview in the thing says that he lives in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And he printed out a copy of the image and left it at his bedside table when he went to Italy for 3 weeks. When he returned, the entire apartment was covered in mould, including the sofa, bed sheets, and walls. But the painting printout was completely undamaged. But here is obviously this is a radio podcast, but I'm now going to.
We'll put a link to this image in the.
Here is the painting. I'd like you to describe it to the world.
Oh, I have seen that. Yes, I'll describe it to the world, and we'll put a link to this image in the description for this for this podcast. But we're looking at I assume it's oils. It looks like oils.
It's oils, yeah.
It's an oil painting of 2 small children. One of which looks to be sort of, I guess they're probably about 5 or 6, maybe. And they're standing in front of a glass, like a glass door, like a French door. There's a boy and a girl, and the girl's face, her mouth seems to go on for just a little bit too long.
She's a doll by looks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, she's a doll. Yeah. God, that's really unobservant of me, isn't it? Yeah. The girl is a doll. You can see that she's got mechanical joints.
The kid looks surprisingly like Bruce Willis.
Yeah, the kid is kind of squinting a little bit, and the doll is almost as tall as he is. And behind them, in the glass door, it's completely black through the door, but you can sort of see the vague outlines of 10 or 15 hands, not exactly pressed against the glass, but they're sort of reaching out towards the boy and this doll.
But it's an unsettling painting.
Yeah, it is unsettling. It's almost like alternate universe Norman Rockwell.
Yeah, it is.
In terms of how all of Norman Rockwell's paintings are all just aggressively wholesome.
Yeah.
And this is like the sort of negative image version of that.
It's really weird to think that if it was a nice painting, people wouldn't think it was haunted.
That's true, actually. Yeah, you never hear of like a haunted image of a bunch of flowers. You never hear of like a haunted Bob Ross, do you?
No, right. Oh God, just like it's.
And that in a sense that gives its whole game away to begin with. It's like only if the image is sufficiently creepy, quotation marks around creepy, then do these myths about it being haunted spring up.
Now, I have my real life uncomfortable object.
Nick has been withholding this from me all day, and so
I probably the really weird thing is I probably actually did talk to you about it at some point in the past because we do talk regularly. But I was near Wetherby in North Yorkshire, and there's a great place called Decaporium, which is like one of these large warehouse type stores where they let loads of sellers have their own little booth.
Okay.
So it's not like a market store, like the sellers aren't there, but they look at the tag, they write down what's sold, and then you basically rent your own shop front.
Sure.
I was looking around and all these sort of ornaments and American flags and bits of mannequin and stuff. And this one had loads of old-timey vintage Victorian photographs.
Okay.
And they're all really quaint stuff, like man on bike, couple holding hands. I look at it and I'm just like, shit, that's not right.
Yeah.
That one right there isn't right.
Okay. Oh, I thought you meant conceptually it's not right, but there's one particular image.
There's one particular image that I was looking at. I was just like, that's not right. And I knew what it was immediately. Like when you know.
Yeah.
I bought it, and I also bought a book on Pre-Raphaelite painting.
Okay.
And basically, what happened is I on the car ride home, I immediately regretted that I'd purchased it.
Okay.
And just tucked the painting into the book, and I've basically never so I took.
Okay,
took
so
the
it's been
picture
sealed. It's been sealed inside this book on the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood ever since you bought it.
Well, I occasionally get out to look at it. I'm now going to take it out of here and hand it to you, and you're
Okay.
going to tell me what's wrong with it.
Oh Jesus! I think I know what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure I know what this is.
Mhm.
What I'm looking at, again, we'll scan this and put a link to it. But what we're looking at is...
You can break your own goddamn computers.
I'm looking at an image of a young girl who looks to be about 3 years old,
Mhm.
I would say. She's wearing, I would say, sort of upper class Victorian
Sort of frilly
children's
children's clothes.
children's girl wear. She's got a bonnet on. She's got sort of a lacy kind of frill around her neck and shoulders. She's got kind of a raincoat on, I suppose, or some sort of overcoat. The background is quite bleached out, so you can't see what she's standing against. But she looks like you can see the outline of stuff in the background. And there is the inscription at the bottom just says H. Callum and a column. That's CALAM. And I am pretty sure that this girl is dead.
Oh yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yes, please explain more about this.
So this is a horrifying image. You can also see that I paid £1 for it on the back. Yeah.
That's the most horrifying.
That's
thing
horrifying.
about this.
Yeah. But I looked at it, and as soon as I looked at it, I sort of looked at her eyes. I looked at her. I looked at the fact that she's wearing gloves and you can't see her hands.
Yes.
I looked at the fact that if you just look at her legs,
Yes.
her legs are not flesh. Her
No,
legs
she's
are
being
fake.
She's being propped
She
up
is
though, isn't
propped up.
she? Yeah.
Her actual body is probably in the object that's behind her. She is.
Oh, okay, right.
She is they've basically folded her legs over so they could put the
Okay.
fake ones on her, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And it's a photograph of a dead kid. The idea was that kids' infant mortality in them days was much higher.
Yes, it's not as high as is often thought, but it is.
Well,
it is
watched-
higher than we would consider to be normal now.
Was insanely high in comparison to what it is nowadays. The thing is that you say if the kid died,
Yeah.
there are photographs that exist of. I'm going to put that away. Actually, it's starting to look at it. There are
Get back in the book with John Everett Millay and all the other dead people.
safe and sound. But no, like your grandma died.
Yeah.
You could have her dressed up and sat in a rocking chair, and you have one final moment with them
Yes,
taking photographs. There are a lot of, I say funny, but not funny because they're tragically horrible. But photographs of dead grandmas with two very uncomfortable looking kids and stuff, and you have a photograph taking them to preserve their memory, and that's what it is. It's a memento mori.
Memento mori.
Yeah. And I bought one and instantly regret it.
I always think
I'm not that goth.
I always think it's kind of interesting that there are so many cliches around this idea of like creepy images or cursed images, and generally speaking, they fall into similar kind of categories. Or photo always has to be in black and white. For one thing, it generally has to be from sort of Victorian period.
Yeah.
Occasionally there will be gas masks involved.
Yeah.
So I mean, that just those categories mean that it's going to be completely anachronistic, whatever it is, and generally involving a child or something as well.
Yeah, 3 rules of horror, like of objects, are: it's going to be a kid.
Oh, always,
It's
yeah.
going to be a kid. It's going to be black and white, or in some or a painting, or something that sort of obscures the naturalistic view of it. Like, it's not going to be a high def photo.
Because there has to be some kind of narrative distance between you and the object.
And the third one, it may involve death or inhumanness to a degree.
Yes, and which is exacerbated by the fact that it's in black and white, because you have the distance between you and the object, because you're separated by the boundary of color, and you also have the difference between the human and the inhuman as well.
But the really weird thing about that is that that's creepy to us, but to them it was just like a prized object. I mean, invested money in order to just have a thing around their house.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know,
I always think it's kind of interesting. You mentioned going around. These antique shops, and there's old Victorian photos.
Hoover shit up like that all the time. Yeah.
Like I've been in antique shops before, and they've just had like family photo albums, like not even from the Victorian period, like, but just from early 20th century. And I always think that that's such a strange halfway house. So obviously a relative has died, and their family's cleared out their belongings. And they obviously can't bring themselves to throw these photos away, but they don't want to keep them themselves. So you then have this ridiculous situation where you go into vintage shops and antique shops, and there's just other people's beach photos there.
Yeah, like, who buys them, and
for
what purpose?
Yeah, I always wonder, like, who is this for? Like,
this is coming from a guy who bought a picture of a dead child.
Can you get that's the worst way to start any sentence. Speaking as a person who bought a photo of a dead Victorian child,
Itsly regretted, though. Itsly regretted. Like...
I have a unique perspective on this. But yeah, like who is this for? Who buys this?
There are lots of things like that, though. Like oh yeah, bad taste bears. Do you know about them?
Oh, are they the little they're like little porcelain figures and they're all bears and they're all doing disgusting shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a largal out one who's like vomiting himself, or like a flash one with a rain mac his dick out and stuff.
Oh god,
like,
yeah.
Who the fuck buys these? Who puts these in their home? It's like.
And you are saying this as somebody who you just described yourself 20 minutes ago as an avid collector of stuff.
Like shit, yeah.
Yeah, so it even goes over your head.
Yeah, like I buy weird stuff all the time, and and I look at it and I go, that's not going in my house.
It's like it's even you the avid collector looks at it and says, you know what, I'm gonna pass on this.
Yeah,
this is someone else's responsibility.
Yeah.